Hello and welcome to our Friday webinar. We are back with Dr. Tom Tully for another wonderful, informative episode of Ask the Vet. Hi, Dr. Tully.
Well, hello. How are you doing, Laura?
I am doing good. It's really nice day out here. How about you?
I hope you enjoyed the full super strawberry moon this week.
You know what? I actually saw that. It was, yeah.
Yes. And on this late spring, can you believe it's late spring? Not even summer yet.
Yes, I think we have what till June 21st or something?
Yeah. So we're not even there. Yeah. So on this late spring day, looking forward to having a great little Ask the Vet.
There we go. Do you think the late June or the late spring, does it make are the birds more like hormonal longer? do they know like, okay, it's summer's now, so now I got to stop with my spring hormonal behavior?
I think that, for the birds that do, some it's not that much of an effect on, but others it is. I think that they are very aware. I think they're very aware.
I think they're waiting for
maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, their bodies know.
Oh yeah.
Physiologically.
I've been getting a kick out of I have a little bird feeder and just seeing the young ones come up with their parents now, and they're trying to figure out like do they want their parents to still feed them, or they're like trying to learn by mimicry with what their parents are grabbing. So it's kind of cute to see.
Yeah, we have a lot of mockingbirds having young babies right now. A lot of them.
Oh I actually have a question about wild bird question. So hookbills, right? Hookbills, parrots. That's because like we call they crack seed, right? They crack. Now, so then so a passerine, which would be like a songbird, right? Don't have hookbill, but they can still, open those black sunflower seeds.
Yes.
So how are they doing that with the non-hook bill to do that? Like, it just seems like I don't know how they manage.
It's magic. It's called magic.
Determination, because they're hungry as well.
No, their beaks and their beaks are actually have evolved to be great seed crackers. And so if you look at, say, some of the birds and they've developed to what the beaks have developed to what their primary food is. But you look at a cardinal beak versus a bluebird beak versus a chickadee beak, and you can see the differences, and almost by the beak design say what a passerine primary food source is. And so a mockingbird isn't going to have a beak like a cardinal, where a cardinal can go through black sunflower seeds like nobody's business. But you have your mockingbird, it's more insectivore. And so the beaks are just different, but the beak structure on the passerines really dictate how well they can crack those sunflower seeds that even if it isn't a hookbill.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I am now going to pay more attention. I'm going to get my monocular out and really look at birds' beaks that are.
Yeah. Look at just look at those, and then you'll see in some of the birding books where they'll say what their primary food source is, and you look at those type of and look at the different food sources that are primary food sources, and look at the beaks.
Yeah.
Grosbeaks, you have your rose-breasted grosbeak, a beautiful bird. Your cardinals that really have those kind of triangular sharp beaks, and versus something like your corvid species, which your crows, your jays, things like that. Yeah.
Wow. All right. There we go. We learned something about the birds outside. It's cool. So I'm sure we're gonna have some. We always get really good questions thrown at you, and I love how you're able to answer them all. And then if you the very few that you haven't, you always like do the research and get back to us on it. So this is always so informative. I love it.
Yes, and well, and I obviously am not able to answer all of the questions, but do my best to provide the information that I feel comfortable passing along. And that if, as you said, if not, I'm always learning. I learn every day, and there's no better place to learn than with a great group of bird enthusiasts.
Yeah. All right. With that said, let's see, are you ready for your first question?
Let's go.
Okie dokie. All right. So this question is about an 8-year-old female white belly kike that started plucking around age 3, began with the legs, noticed it a lot after the bath, pulled out the pin feathers, eats them, and now has progressed to her belly and underwings. And so the bird's been brought in, checked out medically, blood work is fine. Cloaco and Queno cultures are fine. Her diet consists of Hari alternative pellets, no corn or soy, sprouted seeds daily, carrot, sweet peppers, broccoli, kale, berries, apples, hemp seed, flax, walnut, almond pieces. They're all organic when available. So filtered water, 12 hours of full spectrum sliding. So it has a spacious cage. Question is, can you give insight regarding the pin feather plucking and eating? They're wondering if it could be a nutritional deficiency. It started when she was damp from a bath, and now it does it anytime, but definitely when she's damp. So unfortunately, the owner dreads baths because she takes one every 5 days in her dish. So is there could there be a diet deficiency related to this?
Well, this is a good question. And as I always mention, I probably am rather redundant on when I say there's good questions, Laura, because we have good questions all the time. But I like, the question as it relates to feather destructive behavior, because this is somebody obviously that takes very good care of their bird. They take great care of the bird, provide a good diet. The environment appears to be, excellent. And then you still have this feather destructive behavior. Well, I say it's a good question. When we talk about feather destructive behavior, it's one of the main problems that animals have. And I say animals, that I say that people will see a doctor about for their animal. And if the dog or cat all of a sudden loses hair and is running around with no hair, they're going to go see a doctor about that. It's like, whoa, this isn't normal. We all know how beautiful birds are. And then when they have feather destructive behavior, it's like, oh my God, people are going to come in and think that it's, that I'm abusing the bird. And then also what they think, what other people will think, they are concerned about the bird, as is correct. But it's multifaceted, this whole aspect of feather destructive behavior. And I don't think that there's enough questions on it that can reduce the amount of importance on that, and to try to continue to educate those that have birds with this, or may have it with their birds in the future. So it's multifaceted. You could do everything you think is correct with the animal, and it can still have feather destructive behavior. You can, and obviously you need to make sure that there's nothing underlying as far as a medical disease condition that is, the underlying factor of it. And obviously it appears, based on this question, that that has been done, and there's still this problem. What you're saying, well, pin feathers after a bath. And everything that you see is from what you're taking in and what your interpretation of that is. Okay, I'm providing a good environment, but did anybody ask the bird if that's a good environment? No, and it's not going to tell you, right? But you think it is. Okay, and all you can do is base it on that. But are there any other birds around? Is there, it could be a great environment, but you could have a bird that it stresses that the other bird out. You say, well, it's picking its pin feathers after bathing. Well, you have to remember that after you bathe the bird, it's going to start grooming because the feathers are all disheveled, right? And so it's going to start grooming automatically right after a bath. So it may pick the pin feathers even when it's not bathing, but you notice it more after a bath. Okay. And if you have looked at all of the medical issues on feather destructive behavior, you do everything environmentally and you assess the environment to make sure that you look and also, like I say, always, you have variables with feather destructive behavior that you can change and see if that has an effect. Moving the bird, a different location, changing the diet. It may be a great diet, but possibly there's something within the diet that affects that particular bird, just like with humans with conditions. So you can change and try to work with some of the variables that you can change, and to see if that does not have an effect. As always, when you do everything you can, and it always is great to keep a log of everything that you've done. So if you do get to the point of talking with an avian behaviorist, then what you need to do is to have that log to so they would know what you've done to try to remedy the situation up to that point. And then if you've done everything you can, you have determined that there's nothing known medically, and you've looked at, you've done your due diligence on that part, then you're looking at providing that information to the avian behaviorists to go forward. So this is very frustrating. It's very challenging case situation, because anytime that you're dealing with the potential of a behavioral issue, a psychological issue, if you will, in any form of animal, that is challenging, including humans, where people have done everything they can. They've had provided a great environment. They've done this, they've done that, but there's somebody that has an issue psychologically that needs help. Nothing medically, unless you put psychologically into that medical arena. And we can, but not an infectious disease condition or something like that. So this is not unique to birds. It affects all animals, but it's just a behavioral issue, and to go forward with that. So hopefully that kind of provides everything. My thoughts on the question.
Wow. Yeah, no, I know it's a very frustrating for a lot of pet bird people. So yeah. Good answer. All right. Oh, and I just want to remind us, if you have a question, use the Q&A feature, not the chat feature. And also make sure you stick around, because we are doing that extra special product giveaway to 10 lucky people at the end of the webinar, in addition to our regular giveaway. So we're just giving away a bunch of goodies today. So
fantastic.
right? Next Friday extra.
Yes. End of spring giveaway special.
That's right. It's a spring fire giveaway. All right. So this question comes from Sandy. She wants to know your thoughts on a good probiotic. Her vet usually normally gives Benebac with an antibiotic, but what do you think is good to give daily, regardless, with or without medicine? So is there like a daily probiotic that you would?
I don't think that there's any need to take a probiotic or provide a probiotic daily to your bird. I think Benebac is a good product. I like the gel Benebac a little bit more than the powder. But if the bird's digestive system is working well, then there's no need to provide the probiotic I see on a daily basis. So that's one less thing that you would have to do. If bird's maintaining weight, it's eating well, the stool's normal, then you're in good shape. The body is functioning, the yin and the yang are all together, and it's working well. So no reason, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And so with the probiotic with antibiotics, isn't that would be a reasonable situation to provide probiotics, or a growing bird that's being hand fed. That would be another reason. A bird that's under stress, that has been through surgery or something of this nature, that would be another reason that you would provide it. But if everything's going well, then there's no reason to give it on a daily basis. And the Benebac is I think a good product.
All right. This one comes from Nan, wondering about edamame, the soybeans, as part of a diet relative to estrogen and hormonal behavior. So is that something that you should offer? If so, in what quantities?
What's the first part of that question?
Oh, it's all one. It's sorry. Edamame, like the soy.
Oh, and yes. Soybean.
So they wanted to know. It's actually an interesting question, because it's known to have estrogen in it, and so as a small part of the diet relative to estrogen and hormonal behavior, does edamame, like soybean, have a?
Yeah. I haven't heard any issue of or known of any issue of that being as a supplement, dietary supplement. So I think that would be, if they could, I think it would be a nice little foraging supplement to the diet. So no, I haven't. I don't think that would be problematic.
Okay.
Now, we may find in the future that, whoa, look what we found here with soybeans, but it brings back to the point of a case, always kind of we kind of divert on these questions, but this is an example, and it kind of lends itself to this question. There's something, is it estrogen compounds within the edamame that would be possibly problematic? Well, yeah, that's true, but what's the level of that? And how much of the edamame are you giving them a bowl of it, and they're eating the whole bowl every day? That too much of anything isn't good as it relates to nutrition. I always say, we could get toxicity by eating brownies. Everybody just all eats brownies. I love brownies, but brownies every day for every meal isn't good. And we had a case of a macaw, hyacinth macaw, in which it was offered a very good diet, to say, I'm providing all of this food for the macaw, but the macaw only ate macadamia nuts. So if anybody asks, well, I'm giving macadamia nuts, but I've read that macadamia nuts and Brazil nuts have no vitamin B12. Is this a problem? Well, if you just, how many people have fed their macaws macadamia nuts? And it's not a problem. Unfortunately, if the bird only ate macadamia nuts, and I can't fault the bird for only eating macadamia nuts, okay, especially if they were chocolate covered, but these weren't. But in the end, the bird developed a vitamin B deficiency, B12, which if you have a B12 deficiency, you don't make red blood cells. Okay, so this is a good question because it can relate to a case where a bird's being fed a diet that includes, say, macadamia nuts, but it only ate macadamia nuts, and we saw the consequences of that. So, there's foods that are lacking in vitamins, minerals, may have an estrogenic compound in low levels. But if it's just fed as part of the supplement and it's not the total diet, then there's no issue. But if you feed too much of the food, it can be an issue. But fed in moderation, I don't see any problem with it.
Okay. All right. Here's a question about candles.
Candles.
Yes. Is it safe to use like Glade plugins or wax melts in different room than your bird's in? So if you have multiple rooms and you're using it in one room, then not the room that your bird is in, is that safe? Are candles with the vanilla scent that are never burned okay to have in a home? So some interesting questions about candles and plugins. So. Yes.
Well, this is a good question. Have I ever said that before?
They're all good.
It is known, and we have seen cases here where birds will have reactions, respiratory reactions, and to set like plugins. You kind of go into a more, I guess, what I would call uncharted territory when you go into scented candles, and especially if it's not a candle from a major manufacturer like Glade, and the products work well for what for humans, but avian respiratory systems are sensitive. You also get into some unknowns when you say, well, can I use it in a room that's not close to the bird or outside of where the bird stays, because you have airflow issues. Just like you have birds that have been known to have Teflon toxicity, where they've died from overheating of nonstick cookware, where you have 10 birds in the room and 5 birds over here died and 2 were affected here, and you have 3 that are unaffected, apparently. And how did that happen? They're all in the same room. Well, there's different air movements within a room, and how the air flows due to where the vents are, fans, ceiling fans, different things affect door openings, the house itself. So windows, this all is dynamic. And so when you have it in one room, well, in somebody's house, that may be fine, and your house, maybe not. So you have to, plugins, the plugins, I would say any manufacturer, it would be something that I would be reluctant to use around birds. Candles, I actually have candles in my house with the birds. Now, not all candles, I would say, and I can't have any recommendation on which ones would be safe or not safe, but I think for the most part, a number of them are, but you have to be very careful and try to monitor your bird if you have the candles. But the plugins, I would say, I wouldn't recommend to have around birds.
Okay. Okay. I think we've said the same thing with Febreze and some of the air refreshers that you spray in the air. It's obviously,
yeah, but it's always good to, we have different and different participants on the webinar, and it's always good for a reminder, well, what did he say? I don't, but anyway, great question, because there's not except for the plugins. I would say the candles, there's not a yes or a no on that.
Okay. Let's see. This next question is from Carol about an 18-plus-year-old Senegal parrot that has watery droppings for about a year now. Both the CBC and cloacal swabs came back normal. They've done 2 series so far on her. Her diet does not contain abnormally large amounts of fruit. Are there any other diseases or causes that can be screened for that can show a cause for watery droppings? Could she have diabetes? Is that something that can be found in normal screening, like other causes? So what can cause the watery droppings if not a big fruit diet?
Well, the first thing that can cause watery droppings, and I say this, if you have a different color droppings or you have watery droppings, always consider what the bird's eating, because the consistency of the droppings and the color of the droppings are directly correlated to what the bird is ingesting. So food with high water content, the bird will have watery, say a lorry, a lot of fruit, maybe an eclectus, what have you, that foods with high water content, they'll have watery droppings. And then the same with the whatever, if it's the color of the stool. So I'm putting that out right off the bat. Now, you have normal, and so if that's, well, it's not that, it's not what the bird's eating. And remember, just like I always want to mention, just like the macaw that ate the macadamia nuts, it was being offered this great diet, but it was getting fed this great diet every day, and it was only eating what? The macadamia nuts. So it's not necessarily what you're feeding the bird. You want to feed it the right diet, but it's what does the bird eat? And if you feed it every day, then it may eat only the same thing every day. So you have to not only, it's not like, well, I'm feeding it this, but it shouldn't be, but is it eating everything? Or is it eating only the watery stuff? Or did it have a change in its, the Senegals can be, they're smart little birds, I have one, I know. So and so you look at that, then of course you've done the CBC, the watery droppings. You mentioned, could it be a diabetes? Well, diabetes mellitus can cause the bird, is it drinking more water? because when we have birds with a diabetic condition, it's not something we normally see, but we have seen it and we have diagnosed it. The birds are drinking water. You can't fill up the water cup enough, or the sipper tube bottle. You can't fill it up fast enough. We've had birds with diet that just drink it and the full bowl, and then they're urinating. They're basically urinating, and so you're looking at that. And also, if it's diabetic, the blood glucose would be extremely high, and that would be seen on a chemistry panel. So you would have a high blood glucose with that. And so if it was within normal limits, then that would rule out a diabetic condition. The other issue is that you look at gastroenteritis. That may be, when in gastroenteritis, it's just gastric is stomach, and the enteritis is the intestinal tract, the enteric tract. And so what you're looking at here is that that you'd have inflammation. Now, the inflammation could be caused by a number of things, but a lot of times it's caused by a bacterial infection. If it's a bacterial infection, you would have a high white count, inflammatory response to that. But it appears that the CBC was normal. So that's somewhat unlikely. And so then you go into a situation, well, what else could it be? And then sometimes when you have a GI issue, and I say GI, gastrointestinal issue, that in birds we see, and it's over a long period of time, it could be associated with mycobacterium. We've talked about tuberculosis, mycobacterium, and it's very difficult to very difficult to diagnose. There's a couple of different species of mycobacterium. One's easier to diagnose, the other not so much. The one that's not is causes the birds to have somewhat of a normal body weight. They act relatively normal, but they may have abnormal stool. They may have an abnormal presentation to the vent area, but the white blood cell count is normal. One avian TB causes a very high white count, and the birds just eat and lose weight. That's an easier one to diagnose rather than the other one where the birds don't really lose a lot of weight, don't act a little bit, don't act abnormal, but weight may fluctuate a little bit, but otherwise, it's just this is the GI tract isn't functioning right. So that's a possibility, and I always say, but it's hard to diagnose. It's hard to diagnose. We do an acid fast stain on the stool, but that's not very sensitive, so we get a lot of false negatives on that. If we do see the organism on the acid fast stain, then of course it's very specific. Well, that bird has TB. The other possible condition, when you have a bird that has watery droppings, or it could be increased urination. It's hard to tell because they both urinate and defecate at the same time out of the same orifice. So, but it could be the possibility of renal gout or renal disease. And with gout, which is uric acid crystals that form that affect the kidney function, it would be very difficult outside of a renal biopsy to determine. So you're looking at maybe an endoscopic exam, and this is something that may be if it's severe enough or problematic enough, it may be something that would be required in this case, where they take the endoscope and look into the body and look at the different organs. And then this also may be helpful if it is mycobacterium, may see lesions on the liver or other areas of the body. So look at everything from the diet, and then there's also some in what the bird's eating, and then there's also some possible infectious and disease conditions. Gout is not infectious, but it is a disease condition. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That was, so you covered everything there. That was Dr. So, all right.
Yeah.
This next one comes from Dr. Rico Soga. I hope I'm saying that right. From in Japan.
Yes. Hey, Rico.
So question is, silicone is needed for molting of feathers in Japan and Germany. Have you heard of it? If they are feeding cucumbers. Does that make sense? Silicone, we're molting feathers. So I'm wondering, is there a connection between a need for silicone when a bird's molting its feathers? And have you heard of it? Also, I'm curious to know what the cucumber involvement might be, offering cucumber. Have you heard any of that? Does that make?
No.
Oh, not silicone. Silicon. I'm killing the words again. SILICON, not silicone, but silicon. Is it silicon? Silicon. How do you say that?
Silicon.
Yeah.
No, I'll have to look into that. I'm going to have to look into it. Dr. Soga has provided a good question today that we can do some research on, because I would like to know what the involvement and how that interacts with that. So we'll look into it. Thank you, Dr. Soga. I appreciate that, and we'll lead off with that next time.
All right. You know what? I would love to have a webinar where it's where you and vets from around the world just kind of like throw questions at each other and learn off of you. I mean, that would be pretty rad, actually, because you guys have different, there's just so many different variables with different countries and what's available and different. It's just, it'd be fascinating.
Yeah, and that is exactly true, and that's one of the things that I learned very early with the Association of Avian Veterinarians. You notice that it's not the American Association of Avian Veterinarians. The Association of Avian Veterinarians started as a worldwide organization, and of course, as the mother bird, so to speak, it has had fledglings, and that's developed out of that. The European Association of Avian Veterinarians, and then also in Australia, they have there, and New Zealand, and in Southeast Asia, they have their group there. And so you have that, and then you have the European College of Zoological Medicine. And what you're saying is absolutely true. I felt like it was important, and I saw that the medicine was diverse, and there's many thoughts and different avenues as far as the healthcare of the birds, and that the more contact and interaction that I had on a worldwide basis, the more information that I could learn, and then also provide to the animals that I treat, and also teach the students that I teach. And I would have people say, Tom, why are you coming over here, for 3 days or something? You barely get here and then you leave. And I always say, I get so much more out of coming here to improve what I do than what I put into it. And so what you're saying is absolutely true. And that's how, and the internet has made it, a wonderful tool, just not only for interaction, on a human side, but, personal interaction and conferences, it goes a long way, but it's just access of information, just like the webinar attendees today.
Yeah,
they can access, and I always encourage all of my bird owners in which I treat their animals, and then also when I speak to bird clubs, or even like on this webinar, learn as much as you can. Go to, utilize the internet, try to, and look for reputable sources.
Mhm.
I always end with, but before you do anything or what have you have any questions that doesn't make sense or what have you, let me know. Ask me. If that means that I have to stay up to date, I have to stay on top of things, I have to learn to make sure that I can provide the information that is applicable and best for the birds to the owners. So yeah, that's a great statement and thought on that, Laura.
All right. Well, this is a good segue question then, from Janice. So how can you tell if a vet is good with birds? So all of their local vets say they can do avian patients, but how do you know that they actually are good with birds? Like that,
Yeah.
how do you vet them?
Well, that is kind of a personal situation. One of the things that you look at is that you look and you see what the owner, what the veterinarian, how excited they are about seeing you, and how well they do interact with your birds. So that's what you look for. And so that's the one thing that you look for. You look for if they have anything in the clinic that is with the birds. And so, like magazines, information or anything of that nature. So that's what you look for, and it's about the caring, and that they're going to provide quality medicine. That's what you're looking for. And also, if they're a member of the Association of Avian Veterinarians, that's not a must, or does not designate them as a avian specialist by any means. But what that does mean is that they have an interest and are willing to do something like that, and that they care, and that they're trying to do their best to get the most information to provide the best health care for your bird. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Next question is from Pat, that has 2 African grays. One is about 8 years and the other is 6 years. What is a good source for vitamin A and omegas to help with nutrition and to support healthy skin and feathers?
What is a good source of vitamin A that would be, for healthy feathers, or, and most of your, any of your, if there's things that are a good source of vitamin A, but what will the bird eat? That's the question. I could say, well, carrots, You know, your orange vegetables, your colored vegetables, that's a good source of vitamin A. Then you have, you know, that you have your supplements that you can provide, some of your Necton vitamins. You have your VV13 from Lafeber. If you really want to make sure that the animal is having a complete diet, and with the correct, you know, with making sure that it gets the vitamins and minerals. And I talk about this all the time, is that you provide the diet. The bird's going to eat what it wants to eat, but as it relates, is it getting everything that it needs? And the species, we're talking about a citigal, we talk about African gray. How many of those birds, or we mentioned hyacinth macaw, and all the birds that we mentioned, how many of those birds do we know what the recommended dietary requirements are on a daily basis? None. We don't. And so what we're doing, and of course we've had these birds and we've fed them, and they've lived longer in captivity than they would have in the wild. But are they as healthy as they could be? And then they say, well, if you provide these pelleted diets, you don't need to give any supplementation. Really? How do you know that if you don't even know what their recommended daily requirements are? Well, we're basing it on chickens, you know? And so, you know, and you know, if it's out there, I'd like to see it, but I'm not aware of it. So you can provide, that's why I like a diversified diet, to provide that opportunity for the birds to eat what they need to eat. And like I said, the vegetables that I mentioned are high in vitamin A, in something that the birds may eat. And of course, there's others that they may not. And so thinking of some of the animal byproducts. Now, what you're looking at is also to, just like I said, you have supplementation. You want to make sure you can add the supplementation. Like I said, there's first feathers, feathering. You have the Lafeber, since they're supporting this webinar, VV13, and the Necton vitamins for feathering. So, which I also recommend.
Okay. All right. Let's see, what is our next great question? Got so many. That's
so many in such a short period of time. It goes
I
by
know,
fast, but
right?
they're good questions. Yes.
Oh, okay. So someone gave us, here's an update on not a question, but an update. This is from SG. So 32-year-old Nande, who was diagnosed with lymphoma on New Year's Eve, he is maintaining his weight and doing well on a weekly is it Onsure injections. They just want to say thanks to you, Dr. Tully, and all that for the advice that you've offered. And so, wow, we got a 32-year-old Nande that's doing well.
Well, that's good. That's
yeah.
good. A happy bird.
Yeah. So, oh man.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So Gloria has a question about the Congo African gray had a wing amputation following an incident with a ceiling fan. See how that might have gone. About 6 years ago. So the area healed. However, there is one small spot which seems to have a phantom pain, as she will pick and mutilate this area at any time she's without a collar on. So any suggestions to help heal this spot where the feathers do not grow that will eventually enable her to be without a collar? Is there anything topically that you can apply the area? So,
well, that's a good question. Yes, the ceiling fan, and as we're going into summer, just to remind everybody, remember that if your birds are flighted, the law of the ceiling fan, they go out, they leave the ceiling fan faster than they fly into it. So just be careful, and sometimes they escape, and you know, and that happens. But getting back to the question, one thing that I would mention is that Dr. Oro's, we did some studies on um, nerve blocks, and there's a nerve underneath the wing, a nerve plexus called the brachial plexus, and it may be possible, if in this situation, if there is a nerve block, that there would be a possibility of reducing or preventing the phantom pain. It would be, of course, something that there's no how well it would work is unknown, but there's the possibility of doing a nerve block. You can look at either possibly a temporary nerve block to see if how well that would work, but that would be something that I would be looking to or would be interested in doing, to see if that would not have an effect. Because I think Dr. Oro's, who's given some webinars, I believe,
Yep.
that she's used that on some wing issues on some of the birds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Peter had a question about a small conure. When a small conure visited the vet, it was said the bird has at the high end of the fat range after receiving a blood analysis. Is that a concern? So small conure at the larger end of the weight spectrum, and that was based off of its blood analysis.
It would be difficult. I don't know. There may have been an assumption there that it was based off the blood analysis, but as far as to determine the body condition of the bird, normally it's not something that I would do off of a blood analysis. It would be based on the physical nature of the bird and looking at the body condition of the bird. And so what kind of bird was it again? A little conure?
A conure, yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure
And so say it's a green cheek conure. It's about 60, let's say normally about 60 grams or something. And so you have the pectoral muscle is where the say maybe 20% of the body weight is in a flighted bird. And so you think of the Thanksgiving turkey, big, and so if you have that, then we would consider that a very overly conditioned bird. You want that for your Thanksgiving turkey, but you don't want it for your conure. You want a conure if you say, let's just say a scale of 1 to 5, you want your conure to 3. So you want it to look again kind of trim. You don't want that chest bulging out. You don't want the 700-gram Amazon parrot. You want one that's about 500 grams. And so so that's what is the over conditioning of your bird. The overweight would probably be related to the body mass as opposed to the blood work showing that, because it could be not overweight and have maybe a high cholesterol level or what have you, if that was measured on that. So
okay. Do you think having a gram scale and weighing your bird could help give you an idea of weight range? Is it something that you recommend for?
yeah, I recommend that highly, to give you an idea. You don't have to weigh a bird every day by any means, but having an idea of what the bird weighs every week or two, kind of gives you an idea on how the bird's doing, and it also keeps you ahead of the curve, on possibly if something is there that you just don't really see, and it also gives you a chance to interact with your bird and actually feel your bird. And I know people do, interact and feel and hold and caress and everything, their birds every day. Others, don't have that opportunity, or maybe the bird doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Speaking from my hand-raised Derbian experience.
Oh, tell us about that sometime.
Yeah.
Wow, you don't see too many Derbians. That's
Huh?
yeah. I don't see too many Derbian parakeets.
Oh, beautiful birds. Very nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. We'll have to show them sometime. So this is from Dr. Lori. Okay, Balagursik. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but they want to know: can warm and humid temps cause an African gray to pluck? How warm is too warm for a room for an African gray?
I would say I would tell the good doctor that from my experience, just about anything will cause an African gray to pluck or have feather destructive behavior. I would say that what's too warm for an African gray. I would say that under normal circumstances, that anything when you're getting over 80, in that range, you're getting into the too warm level for the gray, 80 degrees Fahrenheit on that. And again, I always mention that the heat is more of a problem for birds than adapting to cooler temperatures, because they just can't dissipate that heat, and their body temperature is up 106, 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
And would you say something? Is there a difference with the temperature in regard to like airflow? Like, I'm imagining the difference. Would there be difference between an 80-degree room with the windows all shut, or one where there's like that?
Yeah, and she also mentions that humidity, and so you add heat and humidity. What's that called? The heat index, right? So the feel like temperature in a higher humidity room is going to be more than in a lower humidity room at the same ambient temperature. So if it's 100 degrees, or if it's 90 degrees in the room with 80% humidity, then it's going to feel like 96 versus 90 degrees with 30% humidity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So here literally it's 100% humidity outside in like July or August, and so when we're talking about 91 degrees, it's going to feel like 102, outside.
And birds don't sweat, right? So,
yeah, yeah. So you want to make sure that they have a way to get away and get in. So with that said, the African grays here that are in that, it's cooler, but it's in the 80, and I'm talking about indoors here. When you're talking about 80 degrees or 90 degrees under the shade, you have birds that are outside and in this high humidity, but it's not where it's the direct sun on them, and there's some airflow, of course, outside. So there's grays out there that do well, that are not having feather destructive behavior. If this bird is inside with this type of condition, well, then possibly it is, but there may be other things to look at.
Okay, all right. Well, that is our last question for today. Sorry if we missed your question. We'll try to get an email out to you with it. But let me real quick. So we got a couple special things that for the end of this webinar. One is I'm going to announce today's giveaway winner for the El Paso Nutriberries. That is going out to Helen Huntley. So congratulations to you and your bird. You need to have a Lafeber office reach out to you to send it out. And so Dr. Tully, now we've got our other giveaway, which are the 10, we got some packs of foraging, a new product. There we go. So what I'm going to do, let's see. There you go. So you got
Foraging fun pack.
Like I got one too. There we go. Yeah, we've got different, as you can tell, they come in different sizes depending on the bird's species.
Yes.
So, there we go.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play the video for that, and if you want to give us a rundown of what you think of the packs, and we'll start hanging these, giving these away. So, all right, this will be fun. Okay, so yeah, I've got our fun packs. What's not to love about something to do with foraging, right? It's an important part of a parrot's day. Let's see if I can get this to play proper. Let's go. Okay, here we go. So turn the volume down. So let's talk about these. There we go. That's how I look when I eat a donut. But it's healthier. This is much healthier. There we go. So you got a variety there. There we go. There's the foraging fun pack.
Yes, and I want to add that this is an excellent way that you can get different products in a small, samples within these fun packs to see what your bird likes, and the different. I think there's some Nutra pellets and some pellets, and so you don't have to get a big container, but you can look and see what your bird actually likes, and we provide samples to our bird owners when they come into the hospital to use, and then to see if the bird likes. And usually, of course, it's a treat for the birds, and so we always like to make the bird leave the hospital or the vet clinic smiling.
Oh, there you go. After when they win it, right?
That's right. And Laura, we have had some great attendees today, and I am so very happy and pleased that they took the time and was participating. We do this together as a team, and again, like I said, some great questions, and hopefully would they be able to provide some information that would be helpful for them.
There we go. That's always, there's always a good takeaway from these webinars. And so now I'm going to name off, these are the people that are getting these wonderful packs. And just to so they come with a sampling of tropical fruit pellets, the classic Nutriberries, the tropical fruit Nutriberries, and the classic Avicates. So there we go. Who doesn't like, I mean, there you go. That's how you find out which one of those is your bird's favorite. So then I think when we do the other giveaways, you get the packet. So like, for example, Helen's going to get the El Paso Nutriberries, but also another product of their choice. So now they can narrow it down easier too. So this is going to go out to these 10 lucky giveaway winners. We've got Shelly Arch, Pat Herman, Nan Newman, Sarah Hunt, Linda Walzak, Adrian Mock, Frank Carries, Diane Rosen, Peter Goldberg, Debbie and Jerry Quinlan. Congratulations, guys. Hope that makes your day. And I would be curious to know which ones your birds finds the, what their favorites are. So there we go. That was special and fun. And Dr. Tully, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and learn on Fridays like this.
Well, so same here. And thank you so much, Laura, for going. And then we need to find out about that question for Dr. Soga next week.
There we
Next
go. We're going to hold you to that. So we
yeah, we can lead off for that and find out about cucumbers.
I know. I really want to know the answer to that too. I'm very curious. And then as a sneak peek for next Friday, we're going to have Dr. Scott Eccles back with us, and he's going to give us yet another update on the Comprehensive Anatomy Research Project. So if you haven't seen the other episodes that he's filmed with the webinars, go check them out. They're on the Lafeber YouTube channel. So you probably want to pre-watch those again, because it's some fascinating information, very exciting. And all right, on that note, I'm going to wish everybody a very wonderful Friday.
Yes.
Congratulations to all of our giveaway winners. And until next time, everyone stay happy and be safe.
Yes. Thank you. Till
All
next
right.
time.
Thanks.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Tully.
Laura. Bye-bye.
Bye.